Welcome to this week's Parent Connection webinar session. Our topic today is Understanding Financial Aid and Billing. I'm joined here in the Donald Tapia School of Business broadcast studio by Melinda Clark, Assistant Vice President of Financial Aid, and Ryan Regensdorfer, Assistant Director of Student Account Advising. Melinda and Ryan, welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. We're excited.
Thank you, Stephen.
Awesome. Great to have you here. We have quite a few parents who have logged on, and thanks to all of you for joining us this evening. My name is Stephen Kubashek, and I'm the Director of Parent Relations here at St. Leo University. I'm a two-time graduate of St. Leo, having earned my undergraduate degree as well as an MBA here. I can tell you that I've been around this place long enough that if you have a question about something related to St. Leo, I usually have an answer, and if not, I can tell you who to speak with to get your question answered. I have to tell you that this whole webinar concept is something new that we're doing this year. We've done a couple of these sessions already and have received some great feedback from parents, so we've created a series of sessions that I hope our new parents in particular will find useful. But our current parents of upperclassmen will also find much of this information useful. This presentation will inform and give you a greater understanding of some of the general concepts as well as the specific details that you as the parent of a St. Leo student should keep in mind with regard to the financial aid and billing process. In addition, you will learn about the support that we have in place for your students. This information will help you as you continue to advise your child as he or she grows and develops here at St. Leo. And before we get into the presentation, I just want to take a minute and explain a little bit about the Parent Connection webinar program for those of you who are joining us for the first time. As I mentioned, the Parent Connection webinars are relatively new program here that we're offering at St. Leo for parents and students. We plan to continue to hold webinars on a regular basis for parents of St. Leo students in order to keep you informed about relevant topics. These sessions will provide you with information that you want to know in a convenient format. We'll also give you an inside look at how things at St. Leo work and an opportunity to hear from the people who make it happen. We will be archiving each session so that if you want to re-listen to certain things, you can do so at your convenience. Or if you miss a session, you can go ahead and view it at a later time. As we all know, college is a time of great growth and learning opportunities for students. Those learning opportunities take place both inside and outside of the classroom. As students grow into adulthood, I'm sure that you hope they become more independent. And no matter how independent a student is, we all know that the financial aid and billing process is one of those areas that most parents are deeply involved in. Our staff is available to help students and parents navigate this process more effectively. Everything that we do here at St. Leo helps students to develop and be prepared for that next stage. Since this is a webinar, we have set up the program so that you will be able to view and listen to our presentation. I'm sure that many of you will have some questions. If you do, please type those questions into the chat box, and at the end of the presentation, we'll take some time to answer those questions. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to introduce each of our guest presenters this evening to you. Melinda Clark serves St. Leo University as the Assistant Vice President of Financial Aid. In this role, she oversees the Financial Aid Department and ensures institutional compliance with all federal and state guidelines for administering Title IV financial aid programs, as well as developing and evolving institutional policies and procedures to address areas in need of improvement. Melinda is a visionary leader with exceptional team building and motivational skills and a strong student-centered focus. Melinda has over 16 years of demonstrated leadership in financial aid. Melinda holds a Master's of Business Administration degree and a Bachelor of Arts degree in Economics and Business with an accounting concentration. She has earned awards such as Lead Bristol Program Graduate from the Bristol Chamber of Commerce Leadership Program and the Top 40 Under 40 Leadership Award from the Business Journal of Tri-Cities, Tennessee, Virginia. Ryan Regensdorfer serves as St. Leo University Assistant Director of Student Account Advisors. Ryan oversees the account advisors, ensuring our St. Leo students understand and have a plan to pay their tuition and other balances. Ryan is an out-of-the-box thinker with a strong servant leader focus. Ryan has over 5 years of management experience and is currently expanding his knowledge by working on his Master of Business Administration at St. Leo University. Ryan also earned his accounting and business management degrees at St. Leo. Welcome again to you both.
Thank you.
One last thing before we get into our presentation. Please keep in mind that FERPA laws prohibit us from answering specific questions pertaining to private student records during this public webinar session. Our staff is more than happy to address specific student issues privately after the session during normal business hours. They may ask if you have a FERPA release on file. In the follow-up email, you will receive some information about what a FERPA release is and directions on how your student can complete the form that will allow our staff to discuss your student's account. I do, however, encourage you to ask any questions this evening that you have about the financial aid and billing process that do not pertain to a specific student's record. You can ask questions by typing them into the chat box, and at the end of the presentation, we will take some time to answer the questions that you submit through the chat. If we do not get to all of the questions during the session, we will follow up with you personally by phone or email. And in addition to this, all of the questions will be summarized and we will send out a frequently asked questions document from this presentation. Now, enough from me. Melinda, I'll let you go ahead and take the reins of this presentation.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm glad to see a good number of new parents out there today to listen to our information about financial aid and student accounts. We're certainly glad that you're here and happy to be part of this very exciting time in your life. It's exciting for our students as they start out on a new part of their life, and exciting for mom and dad, as well as can be a little time of trepidation and a lot of questions because we don't know what to expect coming forward. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about financial aid and let you know what to expect as you're moving forward. Most of you probably already have a financial aid award letter that you've received in the mail from the financial aid office here, and probably even talked with admissions about the awards that are on your letter. If by chance you haven't had a chance to file the federal application for financial aid, I have provided for you on this slide the web address for that. It is a fairly simple process. The web is very self-explanatory and helps guide you through the process. You will need your tax return information as you're looking at that. You will also need to gain an electronic signature through the pen.ed.gov that's listed there as well on this slide. And both the parent and the student will need a separate pen because each of you need to sign that document as you're working through that. If you have questions with that, the FAFSA website offers an 800 number with a good help desk, and we're also glad to help you here if you haven't had a chance to file yet. If you have filed, you did receive back something in the email called a student aid report, and you have basically a synopsis of the information that you provided the federal government on your FAFSA on that student aid report. That allows you to double check what you submitted, make sure that there were no typos, make sure everything went through the system correctly. On that document, you will have messages concerning your application for financial aid. One of the items that you may see is that you've been selected for a process called verification. Verification is simply the Department of Education's way to audit the files that come through, to double check to make sure that everything's accurate. If you're selected for verification, that does not necessarily mean that anything looks wrong on your application. The government selects 30% of all applications that come through the process. If you do see that information on your student aid report, you will be receiving an email notification from our office here to let you know what kind of documents we need for you to submit. We have all the forms available online that you need to complete, and we're more than glad to help you with those if you need to call in and ask for help.
Okay. If someone's selected for verification, when would they know about it in the process? Is it almost immediately, or is there a certain time frame afterward they could expect to be selected?
You find out immediately.
Okay.
With your submission. When you receive back that email that has your all of your information that you submitted on the FAFSA, there is a notification there that lets you know you've been selected for the federal process of verification. Then we will follow up probably within a week or 2 weeks with an email from the St. Leo Financial Aid Office that will let you know the documents that we need.
Okay. Great. If anybody does have questions while we're presenting, feel free to go ahead and just type them in, and I'll compile those, and toward the end we'll be asking questions from the audience.
Now, I mentioned that you had probably already received an award letter. If you have that award letter in hand, on that award letter, there's instructions on what you need to do next. And one of the things that you will see on the award letter is different types of financial aid. There will be grants, there will be scholarships, and loans. The grants and scholarships are what we in financial aid call gift aid. That is free money. It's money that does not have to be paid back at the end of your time, at the end of your educational experience. In addition to those, we also have loans that we offer students. Students are allowed to take out direct loans that are made through the federal government, through the Department of Education, and the only requirement to receive these loans is that that a student is at least a half-time student and that the student files the FAFSA. It's a great resource of funding if you need some additional funds to complete paying for your child's education. These loans, the direct loans, are in the student's name, and they're not due and payable until after graduation. So students have their time of education to utilize the money to pay for expenses and then not need to pay back on the loan until 6 months after graduation. One of the things that you'll need to do right away is to work with your student to log into myStLeo.edu and look at what we call our eLion account. eLion is our online portal that allows students to use the student services here at St. Leo University. One of the channels in that portal is the financial aid channel, and you can click on the financial aid link to see all of the financial aid that you have on your award letter, any updated aid that may have come in for your student in the meanwhile since you received the paper letter, and have the opportunity to review any loans that have been offered. We do require that students actively accept the loans. Let us know that they do want them because it is voluntary to take those loans. So the student will need to log into eLion and accept those loans, and then take a moment to go out to studentloans.gov to complete entrance counseling as well as complete the master promissory note. Both of those last two items are something that first-time students do as they enter, and that entrance counseling and master promissory note will last for the full time the student's enrolled here at St. Leo. So those are just things that you need to do as a new student moving forward as you're offered loans. If you decide to take those sophomore, junior, senior year, the only requirement will be to accept the loan on the eLion account.
I think it's important to highlight the eLion account for parents, especially if your son or daughter is first time entering St. Leo. I don't think we can overstate the importance of the student getting into eLion and parents as well. And I know at this point we don't have separate access for parents. It's something we're working on with our database people, but parents should definitely sit down with students and look at that eLion account, because that's the source of most information, that, especially about financial aid, and then later on about grades and things like that. Students need to be connected there, so that way they're staying on top of their academic progress.
Yes, that's correct, Stephen. Another thing that students can access through the eLion account is their student email. And that's our main source of communication with students. So if we're sending out items that we need from the financial aid office, or if a professor needs to speak with a student, or the registrar's office needs something for the academic record, that is the way that the university will communicate with the students. So it's important to keep an eye on that this summer as you're preparing to come in the fall, to see what types of communication is coming out from the university as well.
Right. So make a star and highlight next to that. Get in the Eline account if you haven't been already.
One thing I do want to mention about continuing to receive aid, we've talked about the way we file the FAFSA and get the award letter so that you can see what types of aid you have. Each year you'll go through that process again. Every January 1st, a new FAFSA is available online that you'll fill out. You'll receive a nice little reminder from the Department of Education that it's time to file again, and you need to log in and use your updated tax return information for the prior year to apply for financial aid for the next year, in this case sophomore year coming up. In addition to that process, you will receive another award that'll be on the Eline account that you can see what type of aid your student qualifies for the second year. Another item that you need to be aware of is the federal government does require us to check satisfactory academic progress. We have a policy that states a certain GPA and certain completion rate for students as they're progressing through their educational career here at St. Leo. That is available at the website listed on the slide for your review after the webinar, and I encourage you to take a look at it. It's important. We all want our students to be successful. The academic department has an academic standards as well, and it's important for everyone to be informed about this so that moving forward there are no surprises. The good news is students at St. Leo, we have a good group of students here, and it's the rare exception that we need to have that conversation concerning the potential of losing aid due to satisfactory academic progress. But it's important for parents and students to know about that so that they can have those conversations. In addition, if the student does happen to fall below the GPA standard, for example, the student doesn't immediately lose their financial aid. Basically have a kind of a three-structure out system. The first, we give the students a warning so they have another semester to bring that grade up. And then the second step is the student does become ineligible but has the opportunity to appeal that ineligibility. So like I mentioned before, it's the rare occasion we get to that ineligible stage here, but we do have some ways that students can work through that, especially if there's unique circumstances going on that might impact grades and the ability to complete classes. Okay.
So it's kind of a forgiving process. If you're going to end up with that funding pulled away, you're going to know about it way in advance, and you'll have a couple opportunities to make amends and get your grades up if necessary.
Certainly, you certainly will, and it should not be a surprise to anyone because we do have almost a year process there where we can work with students and notify them that they need to do better.
Good to know.
Now, we talked about the student loans that is on your financial aid award letter, along with all that nice free money that you're receiving. And, you know, I'm sure you're looking at that financial aid award letter and adding it up and thinking, well, maybe this isn't quite enough to cover what the charges are going to be for my child to attend St. Leo University. We do have a billing process here that will send out information to you concerning the tuition due, room and board if the student chooses to live on campus, and any other miscellaneous expenses, for instance, if the student needs insurance or lab fees, those sorts of things. So it's important for you at this point in time to make somewhat of an estimate of what those charges will be and take a look at your financial aid award to see if you're going to have a balance due after the financial aid is applied. And of course, first and foremost, we are certainly glad to accept cash and checks here at St. Leo.
Accepted everywhere.
Exactly. And those can be paid right here or online. We have numerous payment arrangements for everyone to make those payments. But if you need additional help in securing the remaining balance, there are other options besides cash that is available to parents to help students fund their education. The first is a loan offered by the Department of Education called the Parent Plus Loan. This is a loan that parents can apply for on studentloans.gov that same place, Stephen, that the students go to do their entrance counseling.
Okay.
The information for the Parent Plus loans there as well. And there is an application process, and there is a credit check for parents to go through to receive that. It's a fairly simple application process, and if you list St. Leo on that application, we get notification once you submit it that you would like to take advantage of the Parent Plus loan. And then we can award the appropriate amount to help you pay that balance up. In addition to that, there are a good number of good private education loans available as well. These are available from your local bank and from national lenders. Lots of those out there and available right now. I do encourage you to do your research on the private education loans. Compare it to the Parent Plus. Determine which one is better for your financial situation prior to making that determination on which loan you would like to take. I do have some information comparing the Parent Plus to the private education loans that Stephen will post after the webinar once we post the frequently asked questions, where you can take a look. But I do encourage you to do some good solid research online and potentially talk with your financial institution to see what type of educational loans they offer as well.
With the Parent Plus loan, actually I'm reading some of the questions that are coming in here. We've got quite a few that are filing in right now, but if someone has already taken advantage of prepaid scholarship, Stafford loans, Bright Futures, and now they're looking at a Parent Plus loan, well, how do you determine what amount that you can get for that loan? Is there a limit on that, or is it the balance? How do they determine that?
Yes, there is a limit. Federal financial aid is awarded up to what we call the cost of attendance. The cost of attendance is a figure that's determined by taking the direct cost, which are the costs you pay directly to the university that I mentioned before, room and board, tuition, insurance charges, and then adds in those indirect costs. And indirect costs are things that normally the student needs to pay for out of pocket, that we don't directly charge them for, but there are true educational expenses. These are things like books, gas money for the car, incidental things that students need, pens, pencils, notebooks, those sorts of things. We have guidelines from the government to tell us what an average of those indirect costs should be, and we create a cost of attendance budget for that. So with that cost of attendance budget, we subtract out all those funds that you just mentioned, the Florida aid, the federal aid, and come up with the bottom line, and that's the full amount that a parent could borrow on the Parent Plus loan. I do recommend, however, that you only borrow the amount you need. Just because you're eligible for that does not necessarily mean that your student will need that amount. We estimate about $600 a semester for books. Some semesters you're going to find it'll be $200. The next semester it may be $800. It really just depends on the type of books the student needs.
Right.
So I think it's very important to look at what else remaining you need for those direct costs that you know you're going to need to pay to the university, and then try to estimate any indirect costs that you may need to borrow for.
Great advice. So someone who had, to kind of hone in on that a little more, someone who had maybe a $9,500 balance after all of those things, then the Parent Plus loan, they could determine if they're eligible, could make up that difference?
Certainly.
Okay.
Yes, they could.
Good.
Yes. We have some other options for the remaining balance that Brian's going to discuss with you now.
Well, hello everyone. It's nice to see everyone out there. We're excited that everyone's joining us. I'm going to talk about the different payment plans that St. Leo offers for its students. Some of our students won't take any of the federal loans as well, and they'll just pay the full tuition with us on our St. Leo payment plan. The students will actually sign up right through their E-Line account. They'll log into their E-Line and they'll select the payment plan. There's a $35 fee for setting up the payment plans with us. And the students could actually start logging in August and select which payment plan is best for them. And you could take whatever tuition amount you have left over after the loans that you have been awarded and accepted. So sometimes people don't get the Parent Plus loan and they want to put it all on a payment plan, or they don't get any federal loans and they put it all on a payment plan. It's really what's ever best for each student's financial situation. So what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to kind of show you what it looks like to set up a payment plan. So this is what our E-line looks like. And in the left-hand side, you're just going to click the little down arrows, which is going to bring you to our financial section. And you'll just click the payment plan, which will bring up another browser that the students will then start inputting the information. Step 1 was just their personal information, and Step 2, you're actually going to pick which payment plan is going to be the best option for you. So what you can see below is the student has picked a 3 payment plan, and basically what it will do is it'll tell you how much you're going to pay on each of those dates. And that amount that you're paying is what's the direct cost after your financial aid has been awarded.
So I want to just stop you for a second there just to clarify. So a payment plan would be set up if someone, after all of their other grants and loans and scholarships and everything have posted, and if they have $2,500 that they owe in the semester, then that's where they would go in and set up one of these?
Sure, that's one of the options.
Right.
Or say they don't want to take a private loan,
right,
so their balance is higher, and they want to put more of that on the payment plan,
right,
they have that option as well.
Okay.
All right. The third step, you're going to put how you want the payments to come out. And you'll actually set it up and put all your information in, and then it'll automatically be taken out on those dates for you. So you can see, as our example here, Mickey Mouse is putting all his information in. He's going to add that card to his account for that payment plan, and then every single payment cycle that he has selected, the payments will be taken out for him. And at the last thing, you're going to confirm everything, make sure everything is how you want it. And once you accept it, the $35 fee will be charged to your account, and your payment plan will be set up. One of the great things about our payment plans is if you're on the official payment plan with St. Leo, you're not subject to any of our late fees or any holds on your account for past balances.
And one of the things I also want to stress with this is that we're putting this informational session here on this webinar together for parents, and we've got parents that are listening in, but I want to stress to parents that this is all done through the students' E-line system. So this communication is going to the students, and now that they're over the age of 18, or they will be shortly, we're treating them as adults. So I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind, that all of this, a student has to go in. I hope that parents will be given guidance and assisting with this, but students are actually have access to this information, so it's important to make sure that parents and students are communicating about what's going on in this, and what, if they're setting up a payment plan, and if a parent wants to be involved, make sure that you understand what the student is doing there.
I fully agree. And as a parent, I'd recommend, sitting down with your son or daughter and planning this out. How do you want to go through your college career paying for it? Are loans the options that's best for you? Is paying it directly the option for you? Those are conversations that each family is going to be unique with.
Right.
Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of show you an example of what your bills are going to look like. Again, on E-line, the students are able at any time to select and view all this information right to the internet. Again, if you look on the left-hand side, that's the links that you're going to follow to get to this section. What you're looking at right here is actually my bill. And as you can see, it shows every single charge and credit that you'll ever have at your career with St. Leo. So anytime either you get aid dispersed to your account, or you get charged for housing or registration, you'll be able to see all that, and you'll actually be able to see how much you owe for each at any point in time. So if you ever have any questions about what do I owe, we fully recommend you go right into E-line and look at it, because you'll be able to see the most up-to-date information by doing that.
Okay. Now, since you brought that up, let me ask you a question about bills that are sent out in the mail. When are those sent, and how does that work?
Sure. Anytime a student gets a charge on the account, the students are going to start receiving bills. Typically for our incoming freshmen, the first physical bill that they're going to receive is August 15th is when it's going to go out. The 15th of every month, the student's going to receive a bill that's basically a snapshot of that on the day of the 15th. So if a charge comes on the 17th, but the bill is made on the 16th, it might not be mailed to them to the 20th. So really what I recommend is right when you see the bill, just confirm everything by going to your E-line account, make sure nothing's different from the bill to then. So the E-line account is really what I would focus on, but I'm going to show a picture of the bill right now, a physical.
Right, that E-line account is definitely the best source of real-time information, I'd say.
Yep, most definitely. So this is an example of the mailed bill that a student would receive. You can actually see all the tuition charges and then all the credits. So if you look at the credits right now, he's getting an early FAFSA filer, a first-year deposit, and a SLU Merit Scholarship. So those are all awards that the student has been dispersed. If you look just below that, it says pending financial aid. So this is awards that the student has been awarded but has not accepted yet or has not dispersed to his account. So if you look towards the bottom, it'll actually say the balance is due. It will factor in all those pending charges. So for example, if this student went on to set up a payment plan right now, the plan would be set up for that balance due amount. So for in this example, it's the $4,029. And that's the balance that the student would set up on the payment plan. So now I'm going to talk about some of the other things to expect. E-line is one of the most important tools that a student could use. It has all the information, again, from financial aid to student accounts. Really, if a student has a question about what's going on in their account on anything, that's really the place to go. Yes, we have all the contact information that they can always ask us questions, but really I would recommend that's the first step for a student. For all of our parents listening, the FERPA agreement is really important. So, of course, a lot of our parents are helping our students pay for their balances or helping them with their plan. The problem is we can't talk to them unless the student agrees that we're allowed to. So parents, it's really important to make sure you get your son or daughter to sign the FERPA with you on it. If not, then we can't discuss the information with you.
Right, and I know that can be frustrating, but it's a federal regulation, and there's an easy fix to it. Just make sure the student signs that FERPA release form, which I'll send out more information about that, and then that way, when you do call, our staff will just check to make sure that we have that on file, and then they will be able to freely discuss details of the student's account with you.
Again, the first bill you'll receive around the August time. For late fees and holds, I want to briefly discuss our late fees. It's a 1% of your outstanding balance. Your balance is due your first day of class, so that's really when you want to set your plan up. So whether it's going to be financial aid or a payment plan, the first day of class is when you should have all that set up. After a little bit, you're actually going to get a hold on your account, and what that does is that means you can't register for any classes until you have that plan in place and you're following that plan. I'm going to actually have Melinda talk a little bit about the pending aid and dispersed aid right now.
Okay. We are only allowed to disperse financial aid after we've proven the student is attending class. So we have a week here at St. Leo where we allow the students the opportunity to go to their first few classes. We take attendance. We make sure that everyone's here taking their 12 hours that they signed up for. And then that following week, we actually disperse financial aid. So as Ryan mentioned before, you're going to see on your earlier bills before classes actually begin, you're going to see pending financial aid. That's financial aid that that has been awarded that you're expecting to disperse onto your account. But you won't see that actual real credit on a student account until after that first week of class. It normally takes us, after that drop add period, it normally takes us in the financial aid office about 5 days to process that and it to show on the student account. And then we send it over to Ryan's group, and if there's any, and then it's applied to the student account so that you can see it there on E-line. If there's any type of refund due back to the student due to getting a little extra aid to help pay for books or what have you, then that's sent on to Hire One that we mentioned before, and that takes about 14 days. So there is a little processing time frame there that you need to realize happens with the financial aid process.
Okay. So basically, if a student is due a refund, they'll probably, after that first week of drop ed and everything, they can probably expect to receive that refund sometime toward the end of the September or so.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Hire One's the card that all of our students are going to receive. The card itself kind of looks like a credit card. It'll have all the information basically for the student to log in. Hire One's a great service that we give our students because when they get the refund, it goes to that card. And with that card, they're able to select, do they want to receive it directly to their bank account? Do they want to receive it as a physical check? Or do they want to receive it to the card itself? And so the student, once they get the envelope, they're going to log in, put all that information in, and select that. And as Melinda was saying, the students will receive that refund. Once that credit goes onto the account, they'll receive that refund within 14 days. And so some of the other things that we're going to talk about is the bulk tuition and charges. On the bill, you'll see tuition. Your tuition rates are set if you take 12 credits all the way up to 18 credits. So no matter how many credits you take in that group, you're going to receive the same amount of the same bill. Some of the miscellaneous charges would be like room damages or late fees or the health waiver. Those are some of the non-tuition, room and board, and meal plan charges. They're all kind of grouped in that miscellaneous charge. So if you'll on the bill, it'll say a miscellaneous charge. You're like, what is this charge for? That's where we recommend you go to your Eli and you can actually see exactly what each charge and each dollar amount is for.
Okay.
And I think, Melinda, you're going to discuss the work study.
Yes, many of you may have seen Federal Work Study on your financial aid award letter already. This is a program that helps to subsidize student employment here on campus. We have a good number of students and a robust program of on-campus employment for students to be able to have a part-time job while they're studying, to be able to earn some pocket money or to earn some money to help pay for college expenses. If you have that Federal Work Study award, the student is required to get a job to receive that funding. It's a real job. Students have to log their hours on a timesheet, turn in the timesheet to payroll, and they're paid a paycheck. So that's not a fund that is a grant that's going to come directly off your bill. This is something that the student actually really needs to work to earn the money. I often encourage parents to allow that to be your student's allowance or pocket money. And then that money that you would have set aside to send for your student to have spending money through the month, you can apply that money towards your payment plan. And this gives the student some good work experience as well as some buy-in to helping to pay for their education.
I really think that's the best advice, and I say the same thing when I talk with parents, because I know sometimes when you see it on the award letter, you might think, okay, that's going to go toward tuition, but really when the student's working and they get that check, a lot of times they keep it for pocket change for the most part, so when that's on the award letter, I wouldn't necessarily count that that's going toward tuition.
And some of you may not have a Federal Work Study Award. Never fear.
Right.
If the student does want to work on campus, we have a good number of jobs that are funded by institutional dollars. St. Leo is very generous in that way. So we have a lot of good opportunities for students to work on campus if they look for a job, apply for the job, and get the job and show up to work. So we really try to mimic the real world and have a complete application process with resume and all of that. Now, we will have more information about that entire student employment process in an upcoming webinar on August 7th. We'll have more details for you.
Yeah, that's a whole area where we can go into some real good detail and talk about that. So we'll go into that on August 7th.
Now we just kind of want to make sure that you know who to go to if you have any questions. So if you have some more questions on financial aid or want to get some very specific questions on your son or daughter's account, you can email financial aid or you can give them a call. Student accounts, if you have questions on the payment plan or anything regarding your bill, you can give us an email or call as well. Now, Steve, I think we're going to turn over to some questions.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of questions here, so I'm going to do my best to cover, and some of them are repeated, but I'm going to try to summarize there and cover as many of these questions as we can. And like I said, if we can't get to all of them, we will follow up with you. So let's see. Someone here asks, with respect to the satisfactory academic progress, does St. Leo use plus and minus for grades? And I think the way it's on the 4.0 GPA scale, right? That's how we do it.
That's correct.
So a student will get a plus or minus. They might get an A minus. It'll translate into a number grade, and then it'll be set up between. Is there a certain number that you can recall that they would have to stay above for satisfactory academic progress?
Those numbers are in the GPA is in the satisfactory academic progress standard that's online, and it's progresses as the class level progresses.
Okay.
So we have various. That actually the lowest is for the freshmen to give them a chance to
a little bit of leniency.
Yes, to catch on. And if you'd like to see how our grade point average works, that is available in our catalog online.
Okay.
Each grade is lined out with the number of points that'll be assigned to it.
Okay, fair enough. How does someone that wants to apply for more direct loan, how would they go about doing that? Is that possible to do?
We award the maximum amount of direct loan to every student in their award letter. Each student is allowed by class level to get a certain amount of subsidized loan and a certain amount of unsubsidized loan according to the financial situation. So your maximum eligibility should be on your award letter. If you have questions about that, certainly call the 800 number and we can just double check to make sure everything's correct.
Okay.
But you should have the maximum direct loan already on your award letter.
Okay. So for the most part, it's all there. Just if you have questions, give a call and one of our financial aid advisors would be happy to discuss that with you. Let's see. Someone asked, do you have a monthly credit card payment plan? That would be basically following the plans that Ryan highlighted, right?
Sure. It's not a monthly plan. It's specific dates. So like the one I showed was a 3 plan. There's like 4 plans, 6 plans, and there's different amounts. So the goal of the plan is to have you paid off by the end of that term. So all of our plans will get you paid off by the end of the term, so it just depends how you want to space it out. So once you go in and select the payment plan, you can actually select, and it'll tell you all the different dates that the payment dates are on.
Okay, and I believe I know the answer. That was a 2-part question. I believe I know the answer to the second part, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Does St. Leo provide a discount for upfront full payment for the academic year? And I believe that's a no, right? What tuition is what it is. There's no discount.
Correct.
Right. How do you get an ID and password for the eLine account? I'll go ahead and address that. The students are provided with that information, and if they have questions at this point, especially if it's a new student, they can speak with their admissions counselor and they'll be able to direct them on that. But like we said, student has access to it, and we encourage the students to make sure that they're sharing that information with parents and the information that's in the eLine account. We are working on setting up, it's a little bit of a challenge, but we're working with our database company to set up so that way at some point parents will also be able to have access to that if the student grants them that access. Are there loans available under just the student's name? And I believe that's yes. So maybe if you could just distinguish which ones are under the student's names and which one would have a parent's name on it as well.
Okay. The loans that are currently on your award letter, the direct loans that we have been talking about, those are in the student's name.
Right.
And they will be called either a subsidized direct loan or an unsubsidized direct loan on your award letter. Those actually are made in the student's name. The student actually uses that PIN that we talked about earlier, electronic signature, to sign the master promissory note to promise that they'll pay back after graduation. All of those are, all of the direct loans are actually in the student's name. The Parent Plus loan and the alternative loan are normally in the parent's name.
Okay.
Now, students can get in their name an alternative loan, but considering that that private loan needs a credit check, and most 18-year-olds aren't credit worthy quite yet, they'll need a cosigner of mom or dad,
right,
aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, to be able to get that loan. So there are some private loans out there that students can get in their name as long as they have a credit-worthy cosigner as well.
Okay. So yeah, you can do some research on that. We've got good resources on our website, and if you have more questions on that and you want some clarification, our financial aid advisors would be happy to speak with you and help you figure out more options on that. Let's see. How many months can the payment plan span?
Sure, and I think that's it goes throughout the term. It's kind of each plan's different, so the spacing's different. Again, you're just going to want to log on and select which plan's best for you. So they're all different.
Okay. All right. Are payments due immediately on a Parent Plus loan, or when do those come due?
On the Parent Plus loan, you do start making payments. It's similar to a car loan.
Okay.
You take out you borrow the amount of money you need, and you will start making payments on it. The span of the loan's 10 years.
Right.
So, for instance, when we're talking about the payment plan that Ryan just mentioned, you're taking that amount that you're going to owe and you're compressing it into 2 or 3 months, the time of the semester, because it must be paid by the end of the semester. For the Parent Plus loan, that gives you a little bit longer to pay it back, so the monthly payments will be smaller. Just depends on what's going to work in your monthly budget.
Okay. And so those don't operate like a student loan where the student wait until graduation and then they start paying on those federal loans?
Unfortunately, no, they don't.
Okay, got it. Someone wants to know, Ryan, if Mickey could pay their balance.
I wish they could. If they're doing that, he could pay my student loans as well.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a way to know whether the school has received the signed FERPA that was faxed to the school? Yes. You can actually, I'd be happy to check on that. So my information, you've gotten emails from me, so go ahead and just reply to the email and let me know that you want to know if that FERPA is on file, and I'd be happy to check that out for you.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way online to check it. You'll have to actually call in to one of the employees and be happy to let you know.
Right. How do we let the school know about scholarships received by community organizations, and what do we tell the community organizations to get the money directly to the school?
That's a great question. And you just need to give us a call at either the 800 number or even call Train Stop. That's our cashiering office here on campus. They handle those outside top scholarships from various organizations, and they'll be glad to help you with that. But we do need that information, and whatever the awarding entity requires, if they need confirmation from us that the student is actually attending. There's various things that those agencies will require from us so that you can get that scholarship for your child. We'll be glad to take care of it. Just give us a call.
Okay. So call in and we'll help you out with that. Someone wanted to know if we could offer a little more clarification on what is a subsidized loan versus an unsubsidized loan.
Sure. That's another great question. The subsidized loan means that the federal government pays the interest for the student while the student is enrolled. So upon graduation, if you take $2,000 of subsidized loan every year, you're going to owe $8,000 when you after graduation. There won't be any interest accruing on that along the way. The unsubsidized loan is the reverse. The interest does accrue, and it's the responsibility of the student to either pay the interest during the educational process, or they can select to have the interest compound onto the principal of the loan so that it will be added to that principal amount. So actually, same scenario, if a student had an $8,000 balance, they would have that interest capitalized on it, so the balance due would be higher upon graduation.
Okay. So if you have to take a loan, subsidized is the way to go.
It certainly is, but these days, truthfully, the interest rates are so low that the interest is minuscule on the unsubsidized amount, and there's really not. Both of them are very good loans.
Right.
And it's a great way. It is the best way if a family's planning on borrowing money to pay for education. The direct loan, subsidized and unsubsidized, is definitely the first way to go before you consider any of those other options. If you're lucky enough to only need one, take the subsidized.
Right. Definitely. That sounds like the best option if you're able to do that. When does the Parent Plus loan option open up? When are you available to go for that? Is that once the award letter has been sent, or are you able to explore that option, or how does that work?
As soon as you file the FAFSA, you're
Okay.
able to explore that option.
Okay.
And the application process works very similar to the FAFSA. Now the credit check does expire after a while, so you want to read that information very closely to make sure that you don't apply too early and then the credit check expire before your student actually starts attendance.
Okay.
I think we're very close to being within the time frame now. I think it's a perfect time to go out and start researching it and begin the application process. But if you start in January, that credit check might expire before August when students come to school.
And we have information on our site, right, as well about Parent Plus loans?
We certainly do.
Okay. Someone wanted to know, where will these recorded webinars be available? They will be available at stleo.edu/Parent Connection Webinars, and I'll send out information by email as well. And when you get the parent newsletter, you'll be able to find them. And just if you go on to our website, stleo.edu, and type into the search bar webinars, you'll be able to find this. Let's see. Trying to read through these couple of questions here. If a student has Florida prepaid college plan, how does that work? Do you send them the bill, or does it go through the parents and then they pay St. Leo?
That is a very good question that I will need to defer to the 800 number.
Okay.
I don't have the details on that, but we can get that and make certain that we get it out to people that do have that. I know that we have a direct payment that comes in from the Florida prepaid on a monthly basis.
Okay.
So there is a process that that the parents will go through with TrainStop to get all of that set up.
Okay.
I just don't have all the details on it.
All right. So Jeanette, I'll follow up with you individually on that question. We'll get with you in the next couple of days and make sure that you have that information that you need to know. And we'll also post it in the frequently asked questions page that goes up. So if anyone else is curious to know about that, we'll have specific information about it. And I see a couple other people ask that same question. That's a very good question there then.
Mm-hmm.
If someone gets federal financial aid, can they still get private loans? The answer to that is yes.
Yes.
Right? And let's see. I think that's about it. There's a couple more questions here, but for the time being, we kind of tried to compress and get as many as we could in. And the rest, like I said, we'll make sure that we follow up and answer afterwards. So I want to thank Ryan and Melinda again for being here. This is great information. We will make sure that this all gets up onto the website in the next couple of days. And again, we have those numbers, I believe. Are they still up on there?
Yeah, there you go.
We'll flash those numbers up on there so you can write those down. But those are the best people to call for financial aid and for student account advising, the ones that you see up on your screen right now. And as always, my direct line is 352-588-8254. And all of you, if you've attended this webinar, you have my direct email address, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at any point. Really appreciate everyone being here with us. After this is over, we'll send out an email that will have a quick 3-question survey. If you would take the time to just answer those 3 questions and give us some feedback so we can continue to make these a good and useful program, I'd really appreciate that. And hope that you log on and register for our next session. The next one will be at the end of June, and that'll be some specific information about our Residence Life office. So look forward to seeing many of you on there and taking your questions about Residence Life. It'll be very timely since students will be working on room assignments and things like that. So appreciate you all being here, and have a good evening.